Hey everyone, it's Sherrie Dunlevy, your Inspirationista. Have you ever wondered why some of your closest friends and maybe even family members may have possibly not been there for you when you were going through one of the most difficult times of your life? I thought about that because 21 years ago, my husband and I lost our son Brandon. And during that time, while there were so many people who lifted us up and carried us through as we were grieving the loss of him, and even prior to that, as our son was lying in the neonatal intensive care unit fighting for his life, all the people that rallied around us. But there were some that just didn't show up. And we noticed that, especially after our son Brandon died. Through the years, I always wondered what that was all about. And what I have found is that there are so many people who this has happened to when they have gone through some of the most difficult times of their life. As we healed and we became stronger after the death of our son, we started having conversations with people. And through that, I found out that there was this common thread that was kind of unspoken, but there were a lot of injured people that were left behind as a result of someone not showing up for them when they needed them the most. And it's not something that you like to talk about because it's a double whammy. Not only are you suffering the tragedy that you've gone through, but then the dissolution of a dear friendship or maybe even a family relationship. So this has just been a very, very difficult subject to talk about, let alone having it happen to you. And there are many people that wonder, why did something like this happen when I needed them? And it's not just reserved for death. It can be reserved, it can be divorce. A lot of times people, they choose sides in the divorce. And so someone who you were always close with, who you were always friendly with, who you were always maybe vacationing with and your children were playing with, suddenly disappear from your life. That's very common in divorce. Sometimes it's a diagnosis of cancer or Alzheimer's or something that's chronic or um, terminal, where it's almost like they're afraid if they come near you, they're going to catch it. That's the vibe they kind of give off if they come around at all. Those people who avoid you when you see them out at the grocery store, they just kind of nod or act like they didn't see you at all as you're rolling your grocery cart down the aisle. You see them out of the corner of your eye and you also see that their head is down. What is that all about? Well, I thought about this through the years. It's part of why I wrote my best-selling book, How Can I Help? And I thought, as the host of the Grief Anonymous podcast, I would explain a little bit of that to you, because I think that maybe if we have a better understanding of it, not that it's going to make things better, it's just going to allow us to understand perhaps where those people are coming from. So, like I said, I wrote this book because my husband and I did lose some of our closest friends during this time of our life. And as we were healing, I kept thinking, I wonder if there's any kind of resource out there that could help people that are having a hard time stepping out to support those that they care about and they love when they're going through a rough time. And I couldn't find anything. And that's when this little voice inside said, you need to write this. So that's what I did. I interviewed people from all walks of life who have gone through some of the most imaginable things in life. And I asked them how their friends and family lifted them up and carried them through. And that's what I put in the book and collected all those ideas so that people could actually put their hands on something. This is what it looks like. Put their hands on something that they could delve into when they're at a loss of what to do when someone they love is suffering. So what are the 3 reasons? And I'm sure there may be other reasons, but these are the 3 that I came up with and that I included in the book. And the first one is that it hits too close to home. You may be so close to someone that something so tragic happening to you is just too painful for that other person to deal with. They can't fathom it, they can't imagine it. So my husband and I lost our baby boy at 29 days. So imagine if you are our age and you are pregnant or you have just had children, and the thought of one of them dying is the most horrifying thought that you could ever, you can't even think about it. You can't go there, right? So because it's so scary to you, you just have to stay away from the situation because it's so upsetting to you. Okay, so that might be one of the reasons, is just it hits too close to home. Someone gets a cancer diagnosis and that's your greatest fear. And oh my gosh, if it could happen to her, it could happen to me. Or oh my gosh, if it could happen to her mother, it could happen to mine. Something like that. So it just hits too close to home. The second reason I think that a lot of people don't know what to do or say and they disappear out of your life is because they literally do not know. And what I mean by that is they've never come across anything like this before. This is usually someone that doesn't have a lot of life experience behind them, someone that might be younger that still has all their grandparents and their parents are still married and everyone's held down a long-term job and everyone's been pretty much healthy. And if you're younger, chances are that that very well may happen to you, but that doesn't always happen. And at some point, you are going to run into someone, whether it's a work colleague or whether it's a friend or a family member that is going to have something horrible happen in their life. And they're going to need your support. And if you've never had to give that, if you've never seen it modeled, you don't know what to say or do. So a lot of times when we don't know what to say or do, what do we default to? Not doing or saying anything, right? And the third one is that you want to do something, you want to say something, but you're afraid it's going to be the wrong thing. So you're afraid that you're either going to say the wrong thing and offend them, or say the wrong thing or do the wrong thing and make it worse, right? Or take the idea that I'm never ever going to make it better. Well, I'm going to let you all off the hook because there is nothing that you could do or say that's going to make it better. Nothing. You can't make it better, but you can support the person that you care about. And that you can do something about. So if we know those three reasons, first, it's too close to home. Second, you really don't know what to do or say. Or third, you want to do or say something in the worst way, but you're afraid that you're going to do or say the wrong thing and make things worse. Let me let you know this, okay? So it is better to show up, in my book, awkwardly and by chance say the wrong thing or do the wrong thing. To me, that gets a bigger pass and much more grace extended to you than not showing up at all and acting like nothing happened. That's just my opinion. But in the book, there are also some things that I say, these things are not so helpful for you to say. So I don't see right and wrong, because I feel that if you're showing up in love, even if you show up awkwardly, it's an extension of love. And the problem, why we're so awkward with this, is because we don't talk about these things. If you think about life and death, not everybody is born, but everybody dies. You see, because babies can die in utero and never be born, but they die. So there are more people that die than there are that are born. And yet we still are surprised and shocked every time someone dies and we don't know what to say. And it is taboo. And this is what I'm trying to change. We need to get comfortable having these conversations. We need to start talking with people. We need to start supporting people. We need to be there. So when I was writing the book, there were two common threads because the book really is about what you can do and what you can say to help people through the roughest times in life. And I don't say right or wrong, like I said before, but I do say helpful and not so helpful. Okay, so I'm going to go over a couple of the not so helpful phrases and one that I just learned recently after I gave a presentation in a school, which I thought was really amazing because it's I go into schools and I talk to educators and I talk with administrators and I talk with staff members, and all of them raise their hands unanimously that they know someone who has died or who has been dealing with a death. And then when you ask how many know what to do or say, almost all the hands go down. And if we can't do this as adults, how can we help children? And now in schools, there are so many tragic things happening to children that we need to be able to address their grief. So I was talking to a group of teachers recently, and in my evaluation sheets, someone added another thing that's not so helpful that I thought I would share with you as well. But let's start with the number one thing that I think just about everyone has said at one time or another. And as a matter of fact, I have to stop myself from saying this from many times because it just comes out of your mouth so naturally. Okay. And what is that phrase? If there's anything I can do, please let me know. Now, we probably truly mean this. We do. If there was anything that I could do to help ease your suffering or your pain in any way, I would do it. But what's not so helpful about that? Well, a couple of things. First of all, um, they're never going to let you know. They're just not. You're putting it back in their court. So you're supposed to be offering to help them, not telling them, tell me what I can do for you. Okay? Have something already planned. Now, it's not helpful because it just gives them one more thing to think of. They don't even know what day it is, let alone what kind of help they need right now, most people. And the other thing that's not so helpful about that is that they don't know and they're never going to ask for that help. They don't know. Because if you've just lost your husband and if you've had gender specific roles, you're not thinking about the grass needing mowed, right? You're not thinking about that. If you've just lost your wife and she did all the cooking and cleaning, you don't realize that you don't know how to do a load of laundry until it happens. So I like to tell people that there's a better way to phrase that. And the way to phrase that is give them options of things that you're willing to do. Things that you're willing to do. I'm going to run out to the grocery store. Do you need me to stop and pick you up anything for dinner? Or I'm going to go to the pharmacy. Do you need me to stop at the drugstore or pick up dry cleaning? I'm running out for errands. So do you need me to run you any errands? Do you need me to pick up groceries? Okay, so you could ask something like that. Do you need me to mow the lawn? Do you need me? Can I do some laundry for you? Do you need someone to make some phone calls for you? I'd be happy to do that. Hey, why don't you let me watch the children for a few hours so that you can go out and go to maybe a grief support group or get your hair done or just get out and have a dinner out. Okay, so give them some options. That's a better way to do it. And give them choices. Can I go get you groceries or mow your lawn or make some phone calls? 3 things that you're willing to do. So that is a better way to phrase that because then that gets them to thinking about, oh, maybe I might need that. Or it might get them to say, you know what? I don't need any of that right now, but could you call me back in a week or 2? I might need that then. So that's a more helpful way of saying that phrase. So a couple of other things too that aren't so helpful. I know how you feel. We tend to do this when I see someone who's lost a child. I have to hold myself back to say I know how you feel because I don't know how they feel truly. I know what it feels like to lose a child, but that was my child. I don't know what the relationship between you and your child was. I don't know that it was strained. I don't know this. I don't know what the dynamic was. I don't know the kind of pain that you're feeling um, personally. I know what that kind of pain feels like, but I don't know specifically what your pain feels like. So that was never really offensive to me as far as someone who came up to me and said that, I lost my child too. I just wanted to grasp onto them because I realized that I found someone who knew exactly what that felt like, at least for a moment. So I never found that offensive, but through the interviews that I've done with many people, that can be very bothersome to them. Another phrase that maybe isn't so helpful is, well, they're so much better off now. And a lot of times, why do we say that? Because their loved one was suffering for maybe years, months, weeks, going through a very painful disease, and now their suffering has ended, so we say they're in a better place. But I remember one woman coming up to me and she was so vehement about it. And she said, it just angers me so much that people say that he's in a better place because he's not in a better place. He's 6 feet under. And the best place for him was in my arms. So might want to refrain from saying that. And one of the things that I say a lot to people is that I'm praying for you. I'm sending prayers your way. But I had a woman who responded in the evaluation sheet and said, I think that needs to be added to the not so helpful. That we might want to say, I'm sending along positive thoughts your way, sending love your way, but prayers, first of all, you don't know what someone's relationship like, if they even have a relationship with God or the universe or whatever they call it. But um, a lot of times, especially through death or an illness or even a divorce, you're angry with God, right? And so you don't want people praying because you're angry. You're just angry about it. And so I thought, wow, that probably isn't helpful if someone has some anger with the situation that's going on. So again, just craft it a different way. And if you know that someone is very, very religious and very devout, and you know for a fact that they would love and welcome prayers, I happen to be one of those people that love and welcome prayers and ask people to pray. That is not offensive to me at all, but it may be to someone else. And so positive thoughts, sending love your way, something that you can craft it a little bit differently. And only if you know 100% if the person values prayers, should you say that you're sending prayers their way. So those are just some of the things that I wanted to go over with you today. And I'll continue some of these lessons from my book, How Can I Help? But I thought this was a great addition to the Grief Anonymous podcast because I think so many times some of us who are suffering from loss suffer from so much more loss because people have backed out of our lives. And if you are listening because you want to support someone desperately, this might make it a little bit easier. So here's my last words for you. If you are one of those people that are having a difficult time, you're having a very difficult time right now of not knowing what to do or say, or feel very afraid of getting too close to someone else's pain, I want you to take a step back And I want you to think about this. This is not about you. Sorry, it's not about you. How you feel about this right now doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter at all. What is important is how you can step up and step out of your fear and step into loving and supporting that person better. So think about that if you're having some reservations about stepping up and supporting someone that you truly care about. Now, if it's an acquaintance and it's not really going to bother you if there is no relationship there. I mean, it might be nice if you gave your sentiments and you passed along your condolences, then maybe nothing else needs to be done. But if you have a relationship with this person and you value that relationship, and if you want that relationship to remain and grow stronger, you need to step out of yourself, man. You really do. And you need to remember it's not about you, it's about them. And really, when it comes down to it all, it's just loving on someone. It really is. Letting them know that you care about them and you are here for them when they need you the most. So if you'd like more information on my book, How Can I Help? You can go to my website, www.sherriedunlevy.com. If you'd like me to come to your school or to your business to speak to you about my How Can I Help workshops, I would love to do that because we are just not equipped on how to help people get back into the workplace and get back into the school systems because we don't talk about this nearly enough. We need to become more comfortable having these uncomfortable conversations. That's basically what it's all about. And if you need more information about the Grief Resource Network or Grief Anonymous, go to griefanonymous.com or thegriefresourcenetwork.com. Until next time, everyone, I'm Sherrie Dunlevy, your Inspirationista, and this has been another edition of the Grief Anonymous podcast. You be well.